back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing a family read aloud for those who are in quarantine and don't know what to do. So here is the book I'm going to be reading. I'm going to be reading Where is the Great Barrier Reef? So if you guys enjoy, don't forget to subscribe and smash the like button. So I'm going to get into reading now. Where is the Great Barrier Reef? August 26th, 1768. The HMS Endeavour, under command of Captain James Cook, set sail from England. The British Royal Navy and a scientific group called the Royal Society of London were sending Cook halfway across the globe, to the South Pacific island of Tahiti. Why? With an astronomer and other scientists, Cook was to record the passage of the planet Venus across the face of the sun. They would compare their measurements to measurements other astronauts were taken around the world. This would help them figure out the distance between the Earth and the Sun. Months later, in June 1769, the work of Tahiti was done. But Captain Cook was not going home, not yet. He had been given a sealed letter before he left England. Now he could open it. The letter contained a set of orders for a second mission, a secret mission. Cook was to set sail from Tahiti to a place known as Terra Australis Incognita. This is Latin for unknown Southland. Today we call it Australia. 40-year-old Captain Cook was a very experienced sailor and explorer. The British Royal Navy wanted him to explore Australia's east coast. No European had ever seen this land. On April 19th, 1770, the Endeavour reached this part of Australia. Cook later named it New South Wales and claimed it for England. The States of Australia. At the time of Cook's voyage, Australia had yet not been settled by Europeans. It was called either Terra Australis Incognita or New Holland, named by the Dutch sailors from Holland who had explored its western shores. In the 1780s, people from England began to move to Australia. In 1788, a border between New South Wales in the east and New Holland in the west was established. In 1829, England claimed all of Australia. The English established colonies, much like the 13th original colony of the United States. In 1901, Australia became its own country with 6 states, plus federal territories and a capital district. Here is the state of Australia. Okay. Captain Cook continued north along the coast. He didn't know he was going to make another great discovery, a dangerous discovery. Late on June 11th, under a bright moon, the Endeavour crashed into something rock solid. The ship became stuck. Cook and his crew were 12 miles from shore. They tried to move the ship back into the deep water by lightening the ship's load. They threw as much as 50 tons of cannons, coal, and cargo overboard. They waited until morning, hoping the high tide would lift the ship, but it stayed stuck. A leak sprung. Water poured into the ship. For the next 12 hours, the men scrambled to save their ship. They took turns at the pumps, trying to push seawater out as fast as they poured in. One sailor filled a canvas sail with wool and sheep's dung and used it to help plug the leak. Around 10 o'clock that night, high tide arrived again. The crew was able to guide the Endeavour off the rocky ledge back into the deep water. They were saved. The rocky ledge, however, was not actually rock at all. It was a coral reef. Coral is made up with millions of tiny animals called polyps. This coral reef was one of 3,000 reefs made up the Great Barrier Reef. For more than 6 weeks, Captain Cook and his crew repaired the Endeavour on shore. More than 2 months after the crash, Cook was finally able to steer the ship through the reef and out into the open ocean. Captain Cook's discovery of the Great Barrier Reef was only the beginning. Ever since, the miracle in nature captured the imagination of explorers, scientists, and tourists alike. Today, more than 1 million people visit the Great Barrier Reef each year, and we've only just begun to understand it. Chapter 1: Islands from Hilltops. Chapter 1: Islands from Hilltops. The Great Barrier Reef is enormous. It is the largest living structure on Earth. It is so big it can be seen from outer space. From high above Earth, it looks almost like a line of turquoise-colored toothpaste between the green of Australia and the deep blue of the Pacific Ocean. Closer up, the colors begin to change. The reefs appear reddish-brown just beneath the water's surface. White sandy islands dot the seascape. Lush green islands covered in rainforests rise up from the sea. Shallow water surrounding the island shines bright aquamarine. Below the surface, the Great Barrier Reef presents visitors with eye-popping spectacles, snorkelers, and Can I restart this page? Okay. Below the surface, the Great Barrier Reef presents visitors with an eye-popping spectacle. Snorkelers and scuba divers can swim amid creatures of every color: orange and white striped lionfish, purple crabs, schools of pink anthea fish, blue and black surgeonfish, railing their bright yellow tails to glide through the water. There are also coral in red and pinks, giant clams with gaping multicolored mouths, and sea anemones with green tentacles. The Great Barrier Reef is not one giant coral reef. It is a system of 3,000 individual reefs. More than 1,400 miles long, it is the largest coral reef system in the world. It is longer than the distance between Seattle and San Diego. That's a long ways. About 10% of the world's coral reefs are contained in the Great Barrier Reef. Coral reef around the world. From the Caribbean Sea to the Indian Ocean, wherever the water is warm, clear, and shallow, the sun shines bright. Coral reef exists. The largest area of coral reefs is in the water surrounding Indian Ocean. I don't know how to pronounce it. The Philippines, Southeast Asia. The world's second longest coral reef lies beneath Northeast Africa and the Arabian Peninsula in the Red Sea. The Florida Reef, the only color reef in the continental United States, stretches 220 miles long. The Florida Keys is protected as an underwater state park, the first of its kind in the United States. The Great Barrier Reef gets its name because it forms a Aloud barrier, blocking the open ocean from shore. It protects the mainland from storms and powerful ocean waves. There are more than 600 islands in the Great Barrier Reef, if you include the islands in the Torres Strait, the body of water between Australia and Papua New Guinea. Sorry, I got that wrong so many times. It's closer to 1,000. A few thousand years ago, some of these islands weren't islands at all. They were actually limestone hills on the mainland. How is this possible? It's because about 100,000 years ago, the world grew colder. Much of the water on Earth's surface became ice. Glaciers and ice caps grew larger. As more water in the oceans froze, the sea level dropped by more than 400 feet. In Australia, coral reefs that had been underwater were now above the surface. The Ice Age. When people think of the Ice Age, they probably think of animals from like the woolly mammoth or saber-toothed tigers. But the planet has actually been through many different ice ages. The coldest ice age we know was more than 2 billion years ago. During this time, the entire planet was frozen over, and the Earth was like one giant snowball. 3 more major ice ages would come and go before dinosaurs appeared. Within each major ice age, there are warm and cold periods. Our most recent ice age began. The most recent ice age began about 2.5 million years ago and is still going on. The cold period is most think of as the Ice Age. The Ice Age is with cavemen and mammoths began about 100,000 years ago and ended 12,000 years ago. Once the coral reefs were above water, they began to die and become hard. After many years of sun, wind, and rain, turned these dead reefs into limestone hills. Mud and sediment washed up over them. Eventually, plants and trees began to grow. Animals moved in. What once was a coral reef is now an all-new grassy landscape. Then, about 18,000 years ago, the Earth's climate started to heat back up. The ice melted into the oceans. For the next 12,000 years, the sea level rose about half an inch every year. Over time, the ocean swallowed the land and covered up most of the limestone hills. Today, the top of those old limestone hills are surrounded by water. They are among the islands we see in the Great Barrier Reef today. Many of these islands are surrounded by coral reefs. Today, on some islands, there are popular tourist destinations. On others, there are research centers where people learn more about the Great Barrier Reef, but most of the islands remain pure wilderness, untouched by humans. Grand Island, less than half the size of Disneyland in California, it is the island in the Great Barrier Reef. In the late 1800s, the British mined Rain Island for rock. They built a lighthouse on the island, so this rock and wood from a shipwreck. The Rain Island beacon is still there. Rain Island is a wildlife sanctuary. People can't go there anymore. It is a nesting ground for many species or types of birds. Rain Island is also one of the largest, most important nesting grounds in the world for green sea turtles. More than 40,000 sea turtles lay their eggs on Rain Island in a typical nesting season. And that is the end of Chapter 1. So much for watching, and if you guys enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe and smash the like button. That's okay if you don't. Join me again next week so I can read the next 2 chapters of this book. And if you do enjoy it, just subscribe or smash the like button so I can keep reading these to you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Even though I already said that. Okay, I'll see you all again next week. Bye.